Arabian Travel Market is an annual event that takes place in the beautiful city of Dubai. It provides a platform for industry professionals to get together, network, and expand their operations. We're here today to talk to some of the industry professionals and leaders about the opportunities and challenges they face. Jerry, thanks for making the time to see us. So, a lot of people obviously regionally are familiar with Diriyah Gate. For those internationally who are not all too familiar, can you just get us up to speed on what is Diriyah Gate exactly?
Yeah, Diriyah is a very special place because it's the birthplace of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It's the birthplace of the Arabian Peninsula, and it's the home of Al Saud. So when His Majesty the King, the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman now, was governor of Riyadh, he started the restoration on this historic mud city that housed 30,000 people 300 years ago. And it became a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the principal UNESCO World Heritage Site of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the home of the cultural night when we just hosted the G20. So while the kingdom now is opening up to tourism, to get ready for 100 million tourists by 2030, we want people to come to Riyadh to see the birthplace of the kingdom. And we put a big series of master plans surrounding the UNESCO World Heritage Site, and that's being officiated by the Diriyah Gate Development Authority. So in summary, Diriyah is the ancestral birthplace of the kingdom. Yes, well, Riyadh now is 7 million people, 7.2 million people. The Crown Prince went on television just a few weeks ago to put out a bold strategy to take Riyadh to one of the top 10 cities of the world and to increase its population and its quality of life to take up to 15 to 20 million people. In the middle of the city is this pristine mud city that was built on an oasis called the Wadi Hanifa. And it's filled with mud castles and beautiful homes where you could walk for hours in this ancient mud city. But it's not a theme park. So in order not to trample it, we're putting together a 7-kilometer master plan that will have, like the first phase, 19 hotels of 30 hotels. We open up at the end of this year, the first 19 restaurants. We have the first hotel under construction, the first museum of 9 under constructions, thousands of residences, universities, because this city within a city, this historic cultural city within a city, we want people to live, work, visit, recreate, learn, the whole infrastructure of human energy as the city becomes one of the most important in the world. Oh, a big time. First of all, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as you very well know, is G20. If you look at its growth of its GDP, it may very well become G10, So the future is extremely bright. You have a lot of young Saudis by the hundreds of thousands moving back, very young population, under 35 is the majority of the population. So the principal city also is the birthplace of the kingdom, right? So Diriyah represents the birthplace. That's attractive. If you're gonna invest in Saudi, which the country is growing, you want to be in its principal city. Now that the kingdom, for the first time in its history, is open to tourism. Prior to the COVID, we opened only to 49 countries, electronic visas, plus Macau and Hong Kong. From September of 2019 to March of 2020, we were doing 55,000 electronic visas a month. So now what happened was, a week. So what happened is, we know we're going to have a very big growth as we take tourism from 3% of GDP to 10% of GDP. One of the key pillars of the Crown Prince's Vision 2030 and of course the King's Vision 2030. So that's why foreign investors and Gulf investors and Saudi investors want to be involved in Diriyah.
Before we wrap it up, and again back to infrastructure, can the area actually handle the expected number of visitors or population in terms of roads, airports, etc.? Is that infrastructure available or going to be available? Is there a plan to grow that?
Yes, right now, that infrastructure is not in place, but it began coming into place about 3 years ago. So if you look at the infrastructure and you look at what Ministry of Transportation, Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Culture, Ministry of the Interior are putting in, we're ramping up very quickly. So very bold initiatives on airports. The road systems throughout the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia are excellent. But now we have to get the tour buses, the hotels open, the restaurants open. A lot of progress has been made in the last 3 years. So we think as we ramp up, especially in 22 and 23, we'll have a lot of that ahead because the Crown Prince has invested enormous resources to get that up and running. It's a big priority.
Excellent. Last question. What's the next milestone we could look forward to?
You know, a lot of times governments introduce, you've seen this yourself in your world travels, they introduce these big grandiose plans and then you wait 5 years, 10 years, and you don't see them. Not with this Crown Prince. He's an 80-hour-a-week guy, very strict CEO in addition to running the country. But we have assets, Diriyah, coming on in the first quarter of next year. We have our first district coming on with Bajeri, 19 new restaurants, our first parks, our first esplanades and walking areas, our first hotel coming out of the ground, the first museum coming out of the ground. So there's going to be a lot to look forward to, even as early as 2022.